Hey, Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, a quick warning before we do jump into today's first story. There is discussions of abortion within the story, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description, along the timeline below. Thank you. Now, today's first story comes from the relationship advice subreddit from a throwaway account who says, my 31 male, pregnant girlfriend, 23 female, has been lying about her age for our entire relationship. Is there any way for me to trust her again? My girlfriend and I have been together for a little over a year. When we met, I was 30 and she said she was 25. I'm 31 now and she's been pretending to be 26 for about 4 months. We literally celebrated what she said was her 26th birthday, and she referred to it as her 26th birthday. She's 10 weeks pregnant, but she found out a month ago. She only told me about it not even 3 weeks ago because she was supposedly nervous about my reaction. She was on birth control, whatever the ring is that is inserted. I know she's being truthful about that because I've seen it, and it's even come out of her by accident before. I'm unsure about us having a kid right now. We've been together a year and we don't even live together. She spends most of her time at my place, but she doesn't actually live here. I guess I also took the risk by not using condoms, but I've been in other relationships where we just relied on birth control and it was fine. I do use condoms, it's just that after we've been together for a while, we decided we were comfortable enough to just use the birth control. I'm nervous about the idea of us having a baby, and I told her I wasn't sure a relationship of a year is really the ideal stable thing to be bringing a baby into. And she's been saying she knows, but she just doesn't think she can not have it, and she cries and makes me feel bad. I'm not trying to leave this all on her, and I will take responsibility. That's not really what this is about. She usually talks on the phone on speakerphone. She walks around holding her phone with it on speaker like they do on all the reality shows, so you can hear everything being said. I find it really annoying. I don't want to listen to a full conversation she has with people. She was talking to her mum and sort of stressing about being pregnant, and her mum said, I can't believe you're going to have a baby at 23. You're too young, or something along those lines. All I really heard was the 23 part. I was like, wait, what the fuck? I sat there silently waiting for her to get off her phone, and then I immediately asked her why her mum said she was 23. She just looked at me surprised, like she didn't know what to say. And I didn't even think she registered that her mum had said that when I was right there, hearing the whole thing. Your own mum doesn't get your age wrong by 3 whole years. She looked annoyed and also like she was going to cry, and said she was really 23 and that she only lied because she found out my age first and thought I wouldn't take her seriously if she told me she was 22. She was 22 when we met, and that 26th birthday we celebrated was really her 23rd. I just stared at her for the longest time because I didn't even know what to say. She's right, I probably wouldn't have entered into a relationship with a 22-year-old. A hookup maybe, but not a full-blown relationship. I feel like such an idiot. I didn't think I could be this stupid. I've dated many other women that were usually my age, up to just a few years younger than me. I know there's not a huge difference in number of years between 22 and 25, but 22 just makes me feel weird. Maybe she seemed a little immature for somebody in their mid-20s, but she has her own apartment, an actual job, she graduated college, and has been lying about the exact year this whole time. Yeah, she seemed a little younger than me, but I figured, oh, I guess this is what it's like to date somebody 5 years younger. She doesn't seem like somebody who just graduated college. She presents herself like she has a little more experience than that and acts a little more mature. Or I thought she did. She says she wanted to tell me a bunch of times, but got scared once more time went on. She keeps apologizing and saying she loves me and doesn't want to lose me. I guess I just can't get over that she's been lying about it for a year, like actively changed info about her life to fit this lie. I still like who she is. By that I mean that even though I know her real age now, it doesn't change anything else that actually attracts me to her or that I like about her. It feels wrong to be like, oh, just because you're 23 I don't like you anymore. It's the lie, I guess, that bothers me more, even though the age difference also makes me feel like a creep. It makes me wonder what else she told me was a lie. Was she even on birth control when she got pregnant? I know she was on it at one point in our relationship, but was she on it when she actually got pregnant? I wasn't doubting her at all before, but now I don't know. I'm not somebody who would ever jump to somebody baby trapping me. That's not something I ever thought would come out of my mouth. If you have sex, you take the risk, and regardless of birth control, I played a part. But it just makes me feel so much more sick than I already felt over the idea of having a baby right now. I may not have a choice but to be involved with her for a very long time to come. I'm just freaked out by it all. Maybe I'm overreacting. I don't think it was malicious on her part, but I just can't believe she kept it up for so long. What if anything could ever be done to build trust here again? Is there a way for this to move forward? I mean, in this, she deliberately took away his ability to make an informed choice, saying, I only lied because I thought you wouldn't take me seriously if I told you I was 22, is basically saying I knew this information might make you choose not to date me, so I hid it. Like I say in all these stories, once that trust is gone, what else is there? What do you believe in the future? Are you going to be questioning everything going forward? And how long was this going to go on for until the truth was revealed? You only found out because you overheard a phone call, and she maintained this for over a year. She celebrated a fake birthday. And OP says nothing out. He still really likes her, likes everything else about her. It's just this age thing, but it's the lie, isn't it? You're already questioning the birth control, and I think there'd just be everything else going forward at the same time. I think it's pretty significant in my opinion. A commenter asks, are you sure she's even actually pregnant? OP says I've seen 2 pregnancy tests, not watched her take them, and she has an ultrasound picture with her name on it. I was not present when that was done because she hadn't even told me she was pregnant yet. Commenter replies saying she's 10 weeks pregnant and has an ultrasound. That's unusual. OP says yeah. She said it was the kind they do internally to find out how far along you are. She didn't know since she was on birth control, supposedly, and she had no clue. She was 7 weeks pregnant when that was done. OP replies to a longer comment saying she didn't miss her period for 4 whole months. She was just being paranoid about not knowing how far along she actually was, and apparently there have been women who get periods and end up being very pregnant. She didn't remember when her last period was, and then what she could remember only lasted 2 days, and that's shorter than what it normally is, for her I guess. She was just freaked out when she got a positive pregnancy test. She was scared. She said it was like, I don't know, I was scared I'd go in and find out I was actually 4 months pregnant. That's all she said, just like I was really scared and had no clue how far along I was. She told me she was having dreams about going into labor and never having actually seen the doctor at all prior to. I don't keep a log of when we have sex, but yeah, I'm sure we had sex around that time. This is a pretty new relationship still, so it's all happening pretty frequently. I'm sure it happened many times right around whenever she would have conceived. I'm supposed to be going to her next doctor's appointment with her. A commenter says you shouldn't trust her. That's a very concerning thing to lie about. That said, typical use efficacy for a NuvaRing is only 93%, so it's not surprising you got pregnant, especially if it's fallen out before. This is why you back up your birth control. OP says NuvaRing, that's what it was. I couldn't remember the name. I didn't realize it was only 93%. Aren't most other birth controls higher efficacy than that? That's on me. Like I said, I could have done more to prevent pregnancy, but I guess I just felt comfortable after not having a pregnancy scare with any of my other partners, when we just used birth control. Commenter says, I bet she lied about birth control too. OP says she was definitely on it at some point, as the ring literally came out of her by accident during sex once. Another commenter says, no, you can't trust her again, but I'm curious how you didn't know. You never talked about graduating school or first jobs or anything. This is a big lie, and that's a long time to keep it up. OP says, we talked about those things, not a ton, but we definitely talked about them, and she lied about when she graduated. I've even seen her license, but I didn't look at her birthday. I wasn't looking at it to check her age, we were laughing about how bad her picture is. It was right there, and I could have seen it a long time ago. Commenter says, did you talk about this with her mother/parents? How was the relationship with them? I feel sorry for you though, this is not okay. OP says no, I've not talked to her parents. Her parents live about 2.5 hours away. I've met them, so would love to know what they think about me dating their 22 to 23-year-old daughter. And about the next appointment. OP says her next appointment is a week from this coming Monday. The supposed due date is December 20th. I just looked it up, and that will make her 12 weeks pregnant by then. And yeah, I personally have no clue when these appointments happen, but Google tells me it's common to have one around that time. So it was 11 days later that OP came in with her update and said, quick recap for the people who didn't read the original post. I'm 31 and up until a few weeks ago I thought my girlfriend was 26. We've been together for a little over a year and she's currently pregnant. I recently discovered she's actually 23 and was 22 when we met. She'd been lying about her age the entire time. She had a doctor's appointment today and I went along. She'd already invited me before her real age came out and I started doubting everything else that she had told me. She's actually pregnant. According to her doctor, she's 12 weeks, 1 day pregnant, which lines up with what she told me before. Her due date is really December 20th. They didn't do an ultrasound today. Apparently there's an optional one that can be done around this point to look for abnormalities, but she doesn't have any risk factors so her insurance doesn't cover it. It turns out she's actually still on her parents' insurance. I was also able to have a much more serious conversation with her about the age lie. I tried to explain that the issue isn't really the number itself at this point. At first I was very focused on the number because many people would think it's gross and they won't know or believe that I didn't really know her age for an entire year. Now it's really just that she maintained the lie for over a year. She let me believe she was older when we met, celebrated a fake birthday, and made up all these little micro lies to go along with a fake age, including when she graduated, etc. I want her to realize why I can't believe anything she tells me now. I don't want to doubt her, and I'm not one that's going to be having sex with somebody and immediately jump to, "You're baby trapping me." I hate when guys do that. I just can't believe anything, no matter how big or small. She tells me her favorite ice cream is chocolate, and I'm convinced that's a lie. She said she understands. She was only thinking about the present when she told me she was 25 and didn't think the long term. She didn't know how to get out of the lie, and she realized she'd eventually have to tell me, but she couldn't figure out how. Maybe just being honest and saying all of that without me having to find out the truth from overhearing a conversation with her mum. She says she understands why I have trouble trusting her now, and that she's willing to do whatever it takes to prove she isn't lying about anything else. I asked her to just come clean with anything that I don't know. Now's her chance. She told me this isn't the first time she's been pregnant. When she was 19 and in college, she got pregnant after a one-night stand. She took Plan B the next morning, but it didn't work, and she had an abortion shortly afterwards. She said one of the reasons she's struggling so much with this pregnancy is that she doesn't want to be someone who has multiple abortions. She told me she's embarrassed that she's had 2 unintentional pregnancies and feels a lot of shame about it. She also insists that she didn't get pregnant on purpose and that she doesn't really want to be pregnant now, but she wasn't as shocked to find out she was pregnant as she originally claimed to be. She wasn't using her birth control ring perfectly. She told me there were times where she forgot to replace it on schedule and sometimes wouldn't put in a new one until a day or 2 after she was supposed to. So while she was technically using birth control, she wasn't always using it correctly. She'd been telling me she had absolutely no idea she could be pregnant and was panicking because she didn't know whether she was 6 weeks or 4 months pregnant. The truth is that before she ever took the pregnancy test, she was already worried she might be pregnant because she knew she'd messed up her birth control schedule. So if I'm counting correctly, that's at least 2 more lies. Her explanation for both was basically embarrassment. She said she didn't want to admit that she had made mistakes and that the pregnancy might have happened because she screwed up. On one hand, I can see how what she's saying could all be true. I genuinely think she lied about her age and it went on too long and she didn't know how to get out of it. Doesn't make it right, but I don't think there's any deeper reason for why she did it. I feel better knowing she's actually pregnant, yet not better all at the same time. Just glad to know she wasn't lying about being pregnant because that would be entering deranged territory. Her real age doesn't change all of the things I really like about her. I don't think she's some evil mastermind who's been plotting to trap me. I'm doing okay for myself, but there are better men out there to trap. What I see is someone who seems willing to lie when she's scared, embarrassed, or worried about how she'll be perceived. The problem is those are exactly the situations where honesty matters most. I still care about her. Finding out she's 23 instead of 26 didn't make me stop caring about her as a person. Now she seems pretty set on having this baby, and I'm not one of those stay together for the kids type of people. But I keep thinking that if all of this stuff about her age hadn't come up, I wouldn't be making moves to leave her. Our relationship had been great and had already been moving towards getting more serious before any of this happened. I guess now I'm trying to figure out whether this is a person who made one bad decision that snowballed out of control, or if dishonesty is simply how she deals with difficult situations. At this point, I'm less interested in whether her lies were understandable and more interested in what I should be looking for going forward. If someone has a pattern of lying when they're embarrassed, scared, or worried about being judged, what signs indicate they're actually working on that behavior rather than just apologizing for it? I realize I might be an idiot for giving this a try and not breaking up with her immediately, but I just don't want to go into it being a complete blind, deaf, and dumb idiot. Opie then responds to a long comment saying, I understand why she'd want to confirm she was actually pregnant before telling me. Honestly, that's fine with me. I also didn't expect her to have told me she had an abortion years ago. It's not like I ever asked her if she had one and she said no. There was no reason for her to have mentioned it before. I don't feel like I'm owed that info. I take responsibility for her getting pregnant. It's both of our faults. I just wish she'd been honest about it and not acted like she was totally shocked and had no idea how far along she could be. But I agree with you that she's going to be in my life no matter what at this point. And if a baby really does come, we both have to be in it together. So I guess that's another reason why I'm leaning towards not breaking up with her right now. I don't think I have much to lose right now by seeing how things go and whether she can be honest or not moving forward. The issue with that for me is like, how are you ever going to know, right? But okay, Willow says first, you need to use your own form of birth control. The woman is not the only one who should bear the responsibility of using birth control. She's completely untrustworthy and you should dump her. If she goes through with the pregnancy, you'll be stuck co-parenting with someone you can't trust or you'll have to abandon your child. Opie says, I take responsibility in my part of the pregnancy. I understand that even with perfect birth control use, there's still a small risk. We made the decision together to stop using condoms and to rely on our birth control only. When you make that decision as a couple and the woman agrees to take on that responsibility, she's taken on the responsibility of using birth control effectively and communicating any possible problem to their partner. She agreed to that. I didn't just decide to stop using condoms on my own and force her to take on the sole responsibility of birth control. I also get that when we made that decision, I was putting my trust in her, even with finding out what I know now about her not putting a new ring in right when she was supposed to. I still don't solely blame her for the pregnancy. I could have always used a condom to be extra safe. I know there are things I could have done to better guarantee that pregnancy didn't happen. Rose Lily Cake says, if she does choose to give birth, she needs to figure out beforehand how she will have health insurance coverage for a newborn since her insurance is through her parents, the policyholders. I read somewhere that a policyholder's health insurance usually doesn't cover the dependents of a dependent, example grandchildren. Time for this 23-year-old to be an adult. Best of luck to you. Opie says she has a full-time job that she can get her own benefits through. I know she's not lying about this because I've been inside and seen her desk and met her co-workers. I can also put my child on my insurance. Snoo quotes OP saying she was not planning on getting pregnant and then says, man, am I reading it correctly? As a man, you are equally responsible for this, not just her. If you were not planning on getting her pregnant, why didn't you wear a condom? My point is you are equally responsible for this baby, but sounds like you're trying to shift the responsibility and blaming her by even suggesting things like baby trapping. Man up. Opie says, I don't think I actually said she was not planning on getting pregnant. I said that she claimed she didn't get pregnant on purpose, meaning she didn't intentionally stop using her birth control to get pregnant. I take full responsibility for my part in the pregnancy and understand that even if her birth control had been used 100% perfectly, there's still always a risk and we would have been better protected if I'd also worn a condom. I don't need to be told to man up. I'm not trying to run away from my responsibility here. We made the decision at one point to stop using condoms and to rely on her birth control alone. She agreed to that. I think in that situation it is wrong for a woman to either knowingly stop using her birth control or to accidentally take it incorrectly and not tell her partner about it. It still doesn't mean that pregnancy is 100% her fault, but it's still wrong for her to do. With a lot of commenters saying they don't think she's an evil person, but absolutely immature, and how do you trust her going forward after this? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is a bit of office drama from a throwaway account who says office drama chapter, lying about language skills. Last week, a new colleague, Kathy, 33 female, started at my 25 female workplace. She instantly stood out in the team because she seems like someone who is very loud and assertive. Two of my colleagues, me and Kathy, were having coffee in the break room. We were the only ones in there and were sitting far apart when the subject of travel was brought up. My colleague said she wasn't booking trips anymore because they'd probably get cancelled because of COVID anyway. Kathy immediately cut in about how she is because she travels so often and she goes on these far exotic trips to Europe as a hobby. When I think exotic, I think of the Bahamas or something instead of Europe, but cool. Kathy then jokes about how all this no travel business is making her fear that she'll lose some of her foreign language skills. I asked her what languages she spoke. She claimed to be fluent in 3 European languages, among which were French and Dutch. Kathy said she was at a native speaker level and went on about how people in Europe were always surprised when they found out she wasn't from there. I was excited because I never get to speak Dutch over here. I was raised in Belgium, which has 3 national languages, French and Dutch, which are my mother tongues and the most commonly spoken there, and German. It's quite common to be pretty fluent in at least 2 out of the 3 languages in Belgium because you're required to learn them at school, along with English from a young age. I told Kathy. Opie then says, "Oh fun, we have something in common then in Dutch." She immediately pulled this sour face and asked me if that was supposed to be Dutch. I said yes. She laughed awkwardly and said, "Couldn't understand because I have a terrible accent and I must not be good at speaking it." Now see, I don't have an accent. I speak Dutch more fluently than I speak English. I told Kathy that I grew up speaking Dutch and speak it to my family all the time. She got miffed and asked what languages I speak and where I'm from. I told her I'm from Belgium, so I also speak French, and I added, "Which you just said you speak as well. Cool, we can speak French instead." I acknowledged that I was a bit of a dick here because by that point I knew she probably lied about speaking French as well. She shoved her chair back and angrily got up and said, "Whatever," and stomped off. It was awkward. My other colleagues just kind of shrugged and said she shouldn't have lied. However, she later approached me and told me I embarrassed her by acting superior about my European heritage. I told her there was no way for me to know she lied about speaking those languages. She rolled her eyes and told me I was immature. A colleague told me that Kathy had called me a little B-word who enjoys bullying new colleagues, behind my back later. I don't think I was a bully at all, but I don't want this to turn into a huge thing. Do I just apologize to keep the peace? Am I the arsehole? Bloody Kathy's a cheeky so-and-so in this, right? Calling OP immature when she's the one lying about being fluent in multiple languages, then got caught out. And also trying to say that OP, a native Dutch speaker, had a bad accent and she stormed off when her lie fell apart. I would have absolutely loved to have seen that. I really don't get why people make up lies about languages and being able to speak language, because we've seen multiple stories about this before, people claiming to know languages and then getting caught out. Just like, why would you lie about something like that? It's so easily disproven. But a commenter says to OP, Kathy calling OP immature is rich, especially when she insulted OP and used a derogatory term. Honestly would report Kathy to HR in case she decides to submit a complaint against OP and spin the narrative to her favor. She really showed her character by lying at the break room. I'd be on high alert to what lie she will tell to HR. Commenter says, as a Dutch person, I can confirm she is lying. Also about the dialect. Sometimes the Dutch and Flemish have some difficulty understanding each other, but the sentence OP used would cause no confusion at all, as it doesn't contain any typical Flemish words. Commenter says, but wouldn't a Dutch speaker from Amsterdam still understand a Dutch speaker from Belgium? I understand there may be an accent, but the basic greeting would be understood, right? OP replies saying, as others have said, yes, Dutch speakers from the Netherlands have no problem talking to Dutch speakers from Belgium, unless one of them is speaking a very specific dialect, which you wouldn't do with someone who isn't from the same region as you. Another commenter says, yes, if someone speaks Dutch fluently, they'd be able to understand Belgian Dutch with no problem. The difference is mostly noticeable in the phrasing, with a few differences in words, but the differences are relatively minor. If I had to give a frame of reference, I'd say the difference is like the differences between standard English in the US, the UK, and Australia. One person may think the other talks a bit weird and uses odd phrases, but you know what they mean. The difference between standard English and heavy regional accents from rural parts of English-speaking countries is, in my opinion, much bigger than Dutch from the Netherlands and Dutch from Belgium. Someone says not the arsehole. She claimed to speak a language. It's not your fault that she lied. It's a risk she ran in telling the lie. I don't know too much about it, but I love all the talk around dialects and not understanding each other and all that kind of stuff. A lot of English people can't understand each other. OP adds an edit to the post and says, I'm not sure about escalating this to HR, which a lot of people have told me I have to do. I feel like this might make me look immature to the rest of my colleagues, of which I'm the youngest, and it might not need to go that far. It depends on if Kathy is willing to put this behind her and be professional. If all else fails, I do have witnesses who would be honest about what happened, so I think I might be in the clear if she tries to twist the story. Edit 2. Some people have taken offense to giving me the Bahamas as an example of an exotic place and are trying to make this into a race issue. I didn't know exotic was an offensive term in the US. Do I think of the Netherlands, Belgium, England, Norway, which were countries she was describing as being faraway exotic destinations, as my idea of an exotic trip? No. Not because there's a lot of white people there, but because when I think of exotic, I think of a place with nice sunny weather, white sand beaches, and a blue ocean. Maybe it's because I'm from Belgium, but I don't really feel like being in my home country where it's dark and rainy all the time is quite that experience. Edit 3. Some people think she might not have understood me because she is fluent in Dutch, but learned it in the Netherlands, which has different accents. While it is true that the Netherlands and Flanders have different accents, I didn't speak a very specific dialect like West Flemish or something. I spoke the general Dutch you'd see in the news in Flanders. I didn't speak quickly to try and make it incomprehensible to set her up. I genuinely believe she spoke Dutch because that's what she was saying. I talked to her in a normal conversational Dutch. The same kind of Dutch I'd use in a work environment back in my home country. The same kind of Dutch I use with friends from the Netherlands, but with a soft G, lol. So it was 4 months later that OP came in with an update and says, so a couple of months ago things went down with a new colleague who was lying about her language skills. Many people gave the advice to go to HR. Others said not to go to HR because that'd be escalating the situation. I decided not to go to HR right then, but I did take the advice to write down what happened, with the time and names of the colleagues present just in case. I thought the situation might blow over because Kathy was probably just embarrassed. OP continues. Well, I was wrong. Kathy kept being cold to me, rolling her eyes at me in meetings and talking behind my back. Another colleague came to confront me at one point to ask me why I'd been so mean. Apparently, Kathy was telling a different version of what happened. Kathy said that I'd said mean things to her in Dutch and was making fun of her in Dutch, so no one else but her could understand. She was smart enough to only tell these stories to colleagues who weren't actually there for it. Word got around and it turned into a bigger issue, with a couple of people actually questioning my character, mostly just colleagues that don't work very close to me. HR got wind of it after a while and I got called in close to a month after the incident. They'd already met with Kathy and she told them the "she cursed me out in Dutch and was very mean to me" story. I told them the full story and everything that happened after. They asked me if there was anyone else present who could confirm this. So the colleagues came and told them that Kathy had lied about speaking a language, stormed out and then started calling me a B word to others. They thanked me for my time and I got on with my work. Nothing happened until a week later when I was informed that Kathy was asked to leave. Apparently Kathy had doubled down on the lies and told everyone I was the one lying, and she did speak those languages. So my boss told her in that case she'd have no problem talking to one of our Canadian colleagues who wasn't involved in the situation in French in front of him just to confirm. At this point Kathy admitted she'd been lying. What are you doing? Why would you lie? OP says it turned out she didn't speak a word of French either, or Norwegian, which was the third language she was lying about. This was enough for them to let her go, because part of the reason they hired her was that they were so impressed by her speaking multiple languages and work experiences she had abroad. The work experiences were made up as well. I'm just happy it's over. I'm confident it wasn't really my fault it blew up now. If it wasn't me who caught her in a lie, someone else probably would have down the line. The few people who kind of believed her ended up coming to me and apologizing for questioning me about what happened, so that's all sorted. Edit. Some people are asking why they didn't test their language skills in the hiring process. Our jobs don't actually require us to speak Dutch, French, or Norwegian. I think they probably just saw it as a plus or something that made us stand out from other candidates. I wonder if Kathy continues to lie to this day about her languages. Like I was saying before, it's just such a bizarre thing to do. And I'm not saying people should go around making impressive stuff up about themselves, but if you're going to lie, at least do it with something that people can't easily disprove, right? Gee bloody whiz, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, taking the time out of your day to click that like button, to share these videos, to get in contact, to comment, all that good stuff. Looking after the channel as well. I've seen your emails, I've seen your Reddit posts about these cheeky so-and-sos who's just downloading the videos and re-uploading them and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for your support. It really does mean the world. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.